on my Mount Rushmore of men in my life, one of your questions is why I coached. Because somebody coached me when I was younger, and I said, I won't pass that on. I don't think I understood it at that time, but I do now.
Welcome to the Focal Flip Podcast. Every week we take a deep dive into the mystery and stigma behind mental health and explore real-life stories of struggle and triumph. We aim to educate and encourage others as we bring together a diverse group of guests. From the streets to sanctuaries, classrooms to boardrooms, mental health does not discriminate, neither do we. Prepare to laugh, prepare to cry, prepare to be changed. Let's get into it. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Focal Flip Podcast. It's Mike, your host. Today, I have mentioned this name, or somebody else has mentioned this name in several of my episodes, because today I've got my old coach with me, Coach Trent Steiner. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Michael. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm pumped. I'm fired up.
That's good.
I'm sitting here. Were you worried, wondering what was going to be on this topic list?
Well,
being from one of your old players and...
Well, let's keep some of that stuff in the past. But I started taking notes because when you get to my age and there's so many different things that would happen, and I've been hitting the head so many times, I was afraid I was going to forget some stuff. So I took some notes so I wouldn't forget. But there's an awful lot of topics that you have written down here that I didn't really think about. So I look forward to it.
All right. I like it, man. Yeah, I know. I saw those notes, and I was looking through that, and I was just sitting here going, wow. It's been a minute. How many years?
This is 31.
Is it really?
Yeah, 26 at Simon, 4 as an assistant. This is my 22nd year as a head coach.
That's amazing.
Crazy. Really is crazy.
That's amazing. How many wins?
Quite a few.
God, I hate you. Jason, we're going to get these number of wins here in a little bit, okay? Get that going on later.
Jacob Curry, who was our manager for a long time, he's a numbers guy. He's at UK now, and he sends me that stuff all the time. And I never argue with him on numbers. But it's really not about the wins, truthfully. And that might sound – I don't want to sound pompous or any of that kind of stuff.
No, you're not.
Wins come and go, losses come and go, but the kids that you get to coach, the families you get to affect. And when I was younger – I can't say that the families were really anything I didn't want to talk to parents. I got to talk to your parents because you can't really coach you and not talk to your parents. You know what I'm saying? You can't coach Mike Brock and not talk to his mom. I think one time I had Brock by the ear.
Yeah.
I don't think Mama liked that too much, but it's just there were different times, and I just wanted to coach kids. And I just wanted to coach ball, and I didn't want to be tied up in any of the drama, the stuff that families try to bring. And I'll be honest with you, with social media and stuff today, it's really a headache because so many people have access to kids. And so I try to now, our kids are so open with, Coach, this is out there. I don't have any part of that stuff. But people make spoof pages and post stuff.
I've seen it.
Really is crazy that these high school kids and even college kids, or even as an adult, a couple of years ago we had a parent meeting, and I said, you can say whatever you want about me on social media. I will never see it. But don't put your kid in the middle of you and I, because at the end of the day, the kid loses. If I don't hold anything against you, you're going to think that I'm holding it against you because you don't like me. I could care less of the parents. I just want to coach ball. I want your kids to give me everything they got because I'm going to give them everything I got. And wins and losses aren't that important. But the leaders and the men and the husbands and the employees and all that stuff is really what it's all about.
I love it.
But wins are pretty nice.
I know. Hey, the only reason I bring up wins, is because I played for you. I'm passionate about Simon Kenton. And one of the things and the themes that I do with Focal Flip is over here we stack dubs.
Right.
A lot of times the people that are coming in that I'm talking with or I'm coaching nowadays – have experienced nothing but losses, and they don't even understand what a win looks like. So it was I always say, not many people I've really asked how their wins, but I think it's just because you're one of my coaches. But so I always say stack dubs, and we'll find your dub today.
And I think
kind of things. So
it's a great saying, because at the end of the day, we can all beat ourselves up. We really can. I told you I got a face for radio. I could, but everybody can find a way to find something positive in their life to stack dubs, even if it's, I've got friends that are 12-steppers and they're put one foot in front of the other. I have friends who've gone through a lot of tough stuff in their life. And at the end of the day, you got to find a way to put one foot in front of the other and repeat that stuff.
Amen to that.
And it's hard. Life's hard, man.
It's a grind.
We're talking about stuff for kids, but a lot of things that kids are going through now that is so much different than even when you were in school and Jason was in school, and or even things we didn't hear about that now is that is brought out. And so even dealing with kids, it's, hey, let's find a way to put one foot in front of the other, because sometimes education used to be reading, writing, and arithmetic. That was the 3 R's of education, and nobody ever wanted to talk about anything else that was going on in life. But a lot of these kids are dealing with things that ain't reading, writing, and arithmetic, man. Mm-hmm. And school's not the most important thing. School might be the only place that they get some peace.
Yeah.
So,
gosh, you're so right.
We got to try to find a way for that stuff to happen. And old school people, kind of like me at times, but we don't quite understand that, because we were wired different. We were raised different.
Yeah.
But things are different, man.
A little more stern, a little more calloused.
A lot.
Yeah.
But I mean it is different.
True.
It really is different.
I've seen the same thing, and I've got a gap there between us and the players now. I've seen the same exact thing. And it's interesting. It's fascinating for you in your career as a coach and administrator. I've been talking to my daughter a lot actually about that. We're actually Focal Flip's working on a whole anti-bullying big awareness campaign that we're going to do with schools. And it basically is a whole thing called the scroll sessions. And it goes Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. And it shows the effects of dopamine and how we scroll through and how they use dopamine through notifications, drag you around the screen.
Right.
And from that, we transition it into the cyberbullying, kind of like what I think you were starting to get to.
It really is
these
crazy.
These spoof pages, these people that hide behind usernames. Like another example, Bluegrass Preps. I used to love going to that. I still like reading it. But it's frustrating because people hide behind a username, and then they'll, the people that put the negative juju out there, I'm like, of course.
Well, Deion Sanders, you say his name, it's gonna spark some sort of something from people. But like one of the shirts he had on one time, I saw him on the sideline. I ain't hard to find, So if you got something to say,
come say it.
We ain't hard to find, man.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the message that I try to talk to kids when they come and talk to me. They're like, such and such is talking about this. I heard it from a friend who, I heard that somebody said that somebody's talking about me. And so you got to try to teach kids how to maneuver through all that stuff, because in the position that I'm in, I always say, how many people do you think talk behind my back? And they're like, oh, Mr. Steiner, a lot of people talk behind your back. I get it, but I ain't hard to find. I might not see it on social media, but we're not hard to find. So you got to find a way to get a little thicker skin. Tell your friend that if somebody's telling you that somebody's saying that, tell them stop telling you. Why are your friends feeling comfortable listening to somebody else complain about you? So I know it's not what we came here for, but no, it really is good stuff that you're doing.
I'm actually having to reteach this to adults.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the reason why I have a lot of these coaches on. I think they're like, a coach has been integral in the growth of a young person's life, in my opinion. You have mentors. The coaches are massive. But a lot of times you only hear about coaches just involved in sports, And I think a lot of the times people don't understand exactly what coaches do.
Right.
And it's incredible what all is involved for coaching, but specifically the head coaching up.
Right.
It becomes an art form. It takes years of experience, but like for me, I'm having to kind of reteach it. And I say, we're peeling the onion. And so here you are, you're tackling these youth, like coaching them up.
Right.
And then I've got the weak ones coming to me that struggled. And it's like, all right, now I got to relate. And then, it's like revisiting exactly what I did playing ball, playing for you guys.
Being in education for 31 years, when I first started, all the former principals used to be coaches. And those guys were successful and those girls were successful in being principals because they had dealt with a lot of different things in coaching. And then I've seen the evolution. The academic piece has become so much more focused. Not that it wasn't before, but at the end of the day, when you send your kid to school, you want to make sure that they do know the 3 R's. But there's also a lot of other stuff, the social emotional things. So old school coaches are kind of fading out, and it's hard to coach and be an administrator. I mean, it really is hard to do that stuff now. And so, like,
that's one of my questions, I think.
Do it now or anytime. I mean, it's just really hard because of the time that you have to spend on both.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you that.
I don't know if I expanded on that.
You did a fantastic job. You're crushing this
administrators and all that stuff.
He's got a face for radio. He's got an amazing voice for this sucker, and he's killing it. 12 minutes in.
My voice is gone.
All right, so one of the new things I've started is we do a quote of the day. That when I played back in the day, you guys inspired me. My parents could only inspire me so much. You guys would push me. I'd be pissed off after practices, and then you guys would come back and love on me. There was a lot of growth in it. But in the meantime, what kind of motivated me and pushed me was just different quotes. And I was able to kind of break those things down. So we like to start with a quote of the day, or even something that you'd want to put down, or even by the end of the podcast that we can finish on. So if you want to sit here and think on it as we're going through, we can do it that way.
I get to the point in my head where, like, I'll sit on the couch at night and I'll put stuff in my phone. Me too. So, like, the other night's notes that I put in there, this specifically goes for our team. It's not the best group of individuals that win. It's the best team. I can't be great without the greatness of others. And we need to be tough, detailed, and together. So that was the last three things I put in my phone. We need to be tough, detailed, together. It's not the best group of individuals that win. It's the best team. And I can't be great without the greatness of others. So, and that's some of the messages I give to our kids too.
Those are great.
I hope they don't watch this before I get to give this message to them.
No, they won't. I'll hang on to it for you, brother. I got your back. Tough, detailed, and together. I have never heard that as far as for three. That's good. That's really good. Where did you come up?
There's nothing.
What kind of headspace were you in that night? Because that's pretty legit.
There's a lot of stuff that goes on in my head, Michael. I swear, right there it is.
I saw it. I was peeking over your shoulder.
Right. I got a lot of things. A lot of people telling me things in my head, so I try to quiet them down at night. But just focusing on our team. We were talking, Jason, me and you were talking before the game about maybe our kids don't get enough respect. And I said this. None of our kids ranked in the preseason top 10 Northern Kentucky. None of our kids preseason ranked in the 8th region. And at the end of the day, we're 15-6 right now. And I don't know where we're going to end up, but wherever we go, we're going to be tough and we're going to be detailed and we're going to do it together. And that's kind of where you watch our kids play and you watch our team play and you see how we react. That's really who we are. And so that's kind of the message moving forward into February for us.
I love it. That's what I was saying as you were sitting there thinking and reflecting on your team. I've been to numerous games now. I don't know, Jason, how many games you been to? 3 or 4? 4, yeah. I've been to like 5 or 6, I think now. And that nails them pretty good, especially here in January. Yeah. That's what I've seen. And I love that because you got a senior-laden team, cool-looking group of juniors coming off the bench. You guys change it up. It's fun. But I'm a Simon Kenton grad, so when there's lack of respect.
But don't forget the sophomores, because I got 3 of them are pretty good too.
Oh, you got some real good sophomores. Yeah, I'm not discrediting them at all. But
I know Will's your favorite.
He creeped in there. I don't know how in the world this little Scobie kid just creeped into one of my favorites, man. I don't know. He reminded me, for some reason, he reminds me of me, like maybe sophomore me. He's a little quicker than me. I was real slow my sophomore year. I was terrible. I was terrible on defense in general. But
defense was never really your strong point, I don't think, Michael.
Senior year, I wasn't bad.
I agree.
I got mean my senior year.
You had a 6'7" kid that could help you too, and a 6'6" kid.
Yeah, he knocked me out in practice one time.
He did. No, then you got knocked out at Mason County.
That sucked too.
Oh man, that was
wild.
That was wild.
That was wild. You know what? I got a story real quick.
All right.
I don't care.
That's what I'm here for.
This is where we're at. We had a practice one time. Our practices were awesome. God, they were intense.
They were.
And they were amazing. Shoot, I remember when the Harrises used to be there. They got kicked out of practice numerous times. But
I plead the fifth.
They kind of kicked themselves out. I love them. They know I love them. I hope they can hear it too. BJ and Brandon
and Larry.
Yeah, and Larry. So one practice, Gary Cooper. I'm gonna shout these guys out because this is calling them out for being weak. Gary Cooper and Lucas Deaton were like our two bigs, juniors that had to basically defend a Mr. Basketball candidate.
And Hutch. Yeah. Don't forget Hutch, too.
Oh, yeah, and Hutchins, yeah. Yeah, well, Hutch was a little meaner than those two. Those two were weak. I can say that now because Coop's all the way in.
I'm not saying anything.
Well, Brock kept scoring on the post, and they kept post-entry passes. You guys got me feeding it or me running some action on the opposite side to distract, and nobody can stop. And every time he scored, we had to run. And we ran, and we ran, and we ran. We tried to get Brock to, chill.
There's no chill in him.
No. So guess who decided to guard him? Me.
You.
And guess who pinched him?
You.
Guess who got knocked out?
You.
Nick Repka, thank you for helping me because I was puking in the locker room after that. Dude was tough as nails.
You missed 3 weeks today for a concussion.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, I got wrong with 2.
It's a lot different. I mean, the evolution of the train, we didn't used to have trainers. Nick, when I first got Simon Kenton, I'd never seen a trainer when I was from Lawrence County.
Yeah, and it was NovaCare, I think.
And Nick took care of us, and Jordan sprained his ankle in my first year. We're here, and we're playing at the Scott County Toyota tournament, and we played Lex Cath game 1 on Friday night, beat the heck out of them. Then we played Fleming County, but I think in the Lexington tournament or the Lex Cath game, Jordan rolled his ankle really bad. Well, Nick brings this calfskin tape out. He's like, he'll not hurt his ankle anymore. I'm like, my God. I mean, he's like a cast on Jordan's ankle. I'm like, God. But having a great trainer is so beneficial to a program. And shout out to those guys who do it and girls who do it. It's so important for your program to have one. And we've been blessed ever since Nick's been gone. We've had some really good ones as well. And so basically, if I've got a kid hurt, the trainer tells me they can't go, then they don't go. Yeah. Maybe in the 90s it might have been a little bit different, but if the parents say he's going to go, but it's not worth risking a kid's future.
Not at all.
It's just not
at all. Yeah, I remember Brad Bolte when we were coaching at Ryle. He would look and say,
"Yeah,"
and that was okay.
Yeah, I mean
that's it.
Because why put yourself in that situation?
It's not ever worth it.
Correct, never.
Not at all.
That baby's future's ahead of them.
Yeah. All right. Lawrence County.
That's where
Coach
I'm from.
Steiner, head coach, Simon Kenton High School, boys varsity, Pioneers. Starts in Lawrence County, heads to Simon Kenton. Tell me about what brought you to basketball.
Well, I grew up my whole life watching basketball. I lived up in a holler. I don't know, you guys don't know what a holler is, but
you got one down there.
I got you. I grew up in a holler, and my uncle had a big old dish, and so I was a Laker fan. I hated the Celtics, and so I would sneak over and try to watch the Lakers at 10 o'clock at night. So that was kind of my thing. And my dad and my uncle played in the men's league when I was growing up, and so I would always go tag along when I was 11, 12. Started playing high school basketball. Played a little bit of middle school, but didn't really have a ride back and forth. Got to play some high school basketball. And went to college and decided that, I think I first started that I wanted to be a physical therapist.
Okay.
I went to Alice Lloyd College and I walked into chemistry. And the guy said, open the book to page 1. The book is written by Dr. William S. Cease, and I am Dr. William S. Cease. And I said, I am out of here. I knew I wasn't going to pass chemistry. So then I wanted to be a lawyer. And I got halfway through my junior year, and I'm like, I really don't want to go to school for 3 more years after I graduate. So I went to the dean of education. I said, Doc, I think I want to be a teacher. He said, heck, son, you don't want to be a teacher anymore, and I want to be an astronaut. I said, you're right, but I got to get a diploma. So I got my teaching degree, did my student teaching at Dills Combs High School. It's no longer there. They had a great all-A tournament team. And my roommate, Kevin Spurlock, became a high school coach in the state of Kentucky, and he and I, we're still close. He lives in Texas now. He's coached at Hazard. He's coached at Perry Central. He coached at a lot of those places. And so
is he coaching in Texas?
No, I don't. He told me that he wanted to coach. He said, you need to come to Texas. They need coaches. I said, I don't want to live in Texas, man. I want to stay right here in Kentucky. So I graduated, went home, and I still didn't want to use my teaching degree. So I went to the sheriff's office and I said, "You guys offer ride-alongs?" And the guy come out and said, "Are you Willie York's grandson?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "You're hired." I said, "I wasn't looking for a job. He said, "I need you. I need good people." So then I did that for 13 or 14 months. I took the state police test. I thought I was going to fail the psychological exam. I unfortunately passed that, but I couldn't pass the physical because I'd blown my knee out in college. And,
oh, man.
So superintendent of schools, where I'm from, he was like my high school principal. Then he became superintendent of schools. He pulled in. He saw me pumping gas one day. He said, "Stop up at the office. I got a job for you." And here I am, 31 years later.
Wow. That's cool. That is wild.
So I coached at Lawrence for a couple of years. Like I had another knee surgery, and I started coaching freshmen in the 94-95 school year. Yep, 94-95 school year. I was coaching freshman basketball
At Lawrence County.
at Lawrence, and then I started coaching some JV, and very blessed to coach pretty good kids. I said our superintendent of schools, his name was Eddie Wayne Michael. His son Jason was coming through. He's now coaching tight ends for the Eagles. Had a kid named Jared Parker, who was the offense coordinator at Notre Dame last year. One of the coolest things ever is I got to take Brennan Kuntz, who loves Notre Dame, up to watch USC and Notre Dame last year.
In South Bend?
In South Bend. And then we went to Jared's house after the game, and Brennan's like, "Coach, I'm like in heaven here." I said, "It's pretty cool. Two of my former players being able to do that stuff and connect them."
Awesome.
And then they would tell stories about how big a jerk I am or not or whatever. And now the old guys say how soft I've become. And then I coached another kid that started shortstop Virginia Tech for 4 years, and a kid named Spencer Harris. And Spencer's a doctor back home now, so been very blessed. And I coach a lot of other kids. Michael Cantrell, if you ever watch this, Michael's one of my all-time favorite kids. He'll send me a text and say, "Coach, I'm keeping up with you." But then I came here for 2 years, and in the 98-99 school year, and then the 99-2000. Then I went home for 1 year to be the head coach, and I'm at home, and I'm like, awful lot to do in Northern Kentucky. And so then I came back. And I've been here ever since.
Okay, so you went there and coached for a year.
And Tim Hanner used to be the Kenton County superintendent. He called me and said, "Scott Humphrey says you need to get to Northern Kentucky." And I came up here Scott's first year, and I was just an old hillbilly, man. My family's back home, and that's, if I could transplant my family to Northern Kentucky, everything would have been even, the best. But that wasn't something I was able to do. But when I went home for the 1 year, you realize that Northern Kentucky is a different place. It just is. It's a big city type of feel, but it's really a small type. Especially when I was in Independence. I mean, just a small. And now people lived here all their lives. Like Independence has grown so much, and it really has. But it's still
small field.
Still a small field. So I that's the one thing that I love the most about it.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I've been telling people from the city that's what's unique about this.
That's why all the land's being bought out here.
I'm just sitting here like, here we are with 30,000. It's third largest land mass. Our population's like 3,000 behind Florence, but I reciprocate what you say. It is 100% the small town feel still.
Really is.
You feel it with the events, ball games, Christmas walks. They do all kinds of different stuff.
Yep.
And it's pretty neat. And that's why I can't leave here.
No, I won't either.
I don't think I will. So Coach Humphrey and Tim Hanner sitting here conspiring together.
Well, Scott, we're at the state tournament, and my high school coach, I told you, the three most influential men in my life: my father, my high school basketball coach, Sam Sparks, and Eddie Wayne Michael, who's still, Dad will say, "I saw Eddie Wayne today," and he won't say he's been following your scores. So those three guys, Billy Goldsmith as well, just men that helped raise me. And it was a special time at Lawrence County High School where I graduated from in 1990. And Billy coached football, and I never played football. But when you have a couple extra PE classes every day, you kind of get close to people. So I dropped calculus my senior year and went and got my second PE class. So I knew I wasn't going to be a math major.
Smooth move, man. Look at you. God, you're a smooth operator.
Yeah.
Sounds like me, my senior year of college, dropping credits left and right.
No.
Picking up swimming.
Swimming, it's good. It's good exercise.
Swimming. All right. So here.
But anyway, so we're at the state tournament, and Hump said, I'm leaving Eastern Kentucky. I'm moving to Northern Kentucky. And he calls me in June, and he's like, I think I just got this Simon Kenton job. I said, they're not hiring some 28-year-old guy to take the Simon Kenton job, because Simon Kenton for us, like, I just seen him play at the state tournament with Jeff Croman and Jeff McKinley
94-95
and that bunch. And
Dan Trainer.
Danny was coaching, and we lost, unfortunately, to Marshall County. But I'm like, they're not going to give the head coaching job to Simon Kenton to some guy who has never been anything higher than a JV coach, you know? And so he called me and said, I think I've got this job. I said, okay. And so he calls me 45 minutes later and said, they just offered me the job. He said, well, come up here and be my assistant. So that's how I came up here. I met him at the AA because, like, where I'm from, it's 2-lane roads and US 23. And so, like, hitting 64 West past Moorhead was like, or taking the AA was like, nah. No, like, if you're not from back home, man, people just don't understand, man. I mean, like, that stuff is like Indonesia for me. Like, it's just crazy. So he met me at the AA there in Wilder at the Shell Station, whatever that is.
Awesome story.
And then he drove me to Simon Kenton High School, and I swear, Brendan, Mark Gaskins, and I want to say somebody else, we're in the old gym playing 2-on-2. And it just felt right. But when I got in the car and I went home, when you start thinking about your family and your parents and your sisters, and like,
yeah, you're really close with your family.
I'm 3.5 hours away. And so I called Scott and I said, man, I can't do that. And then something happened in Lawrence County. I didn't get the job that I thought I deserved or something. So I took my ball and came to Northern Kentucky.
Let's go.
Here we go.
Golly. And so the first group of players that you assumed was who?
Jordan started at point. Eric Washnock.
Jordan Stowers, everybody.
Yeah, Eric Washnock, who's still in the area as a physician
Washnock
assistant.
Could shoot it. Number 20.
Brendan, Mark, Mike Burns are our starting five. We had a kid named Brad Airwood, Chris Rump.
Rump came off the bench.
You know, and then the next year was, you know, we were the next year ranked preseason 14th with Jordan as a junior, and a kid named Ryan Piper and Coppage and Satters and Mike Ballinger and all those guys. We beat Newcath, and the only time I ever barked at Mark Smith, God rest his soul.
Oh, man.
You know, my body's just eating up with chills because there's nobody that loves Simon Kenton High School more than Mark Smith.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, he passed away June 6, 2020 during COVID. And like that dude, but we beat Newcath, and he said, it's a miracle. And I pissed me off. I'm like, it wasn't a shock to us, man. I mean, like, Ronnie, we're playing Newcath, and they're bringing Ronnie off that ball screen, and Piper was just trapping the heck out of him.
Yeah, Ronnie Don, man.
Hitting Piper. And we won, and so I barked at Mark Smith, and I apologized till the end with him. I love you, Mark. Dude,
it's the emotions of the game.
It really is, man.
It's what
happened. It really is.
I've had this conversation with so many people. It's just what happens when we tip the ball. You know, when we're prepping for a game, we get ready, we tip it up. You're mixing mental, physical, emotional, all of it together.
All of it together.
And it's when you're a competitor.
People don't really understand how much goes into all that noise. You know,
they don't have a clue.
The hours of film, and the huddle makes it so much easier. We used to have that old double deck VCR that we would brought.
I don't know how you guys did that, man.
We'd be in Hump's basement clipping up double stuff. Like,
how were y'all clipping that with the VHS?
Well, we had a double deck VCR, and so like it evolved. And we used to have stacked VCR, so we would go from this VCR to that VCR. And you young coaches don't understand because everything's digital, but we would clip. And we would go from the film onto this. And so, like, I can't even explain it because I hate technology, but dude, I was able to do that. And my wife made me throw my double-deck VCR away like 2 or 3 years ago. I'm like, that thing is like a classic. I can't throw that thing away. She's like, it's in the junk room. Throw it away. But
voice of reason came in.
I still have a bunch of VCR tapes that are like –
I'll take them.
The 96 Bulls versus whoever they played in the NBA championship. Like I still have that stuff filmed or taped, but we were clipping things up and watching it. In our first year, we got a huge snow at Christmas, like in January. So we missed like the whole month of January. Well, but we got to practice. So like I wasn't an administrator, I was a teacher, and I didn't have to go to work. So we go to practice and then go watch some film and then do whatever we were doing and then get up and do it all again the next day. It's heavenly. I thought this coaching stuff's fun.
This is
you don't have to go to
fantastic.
work, get to coach. That's good.
Gosh. All right. So here you are coming up playing with Coach Humphrey. I come along to play. I bleed Simon Kenton. I grew up bleeding University of Kentucky basketball. Was helping dad on the farm and shooting hoops at like 6 a.m., And a lot of these conversations that some of these coaches will have on here, they'll be like, I played for this coach and this group of coaches. And a lot of times they'll be like, yeah, you don't know how hard things were, how tough you had to work for things. And I'll just, okay. And I played for Coach Humphrey, Scott Humphrey, everybody. I played for Coach Steiner, Trent Steiner. I played for Brad Carr and the right-hand man for Trent and a legend, Jason Bach. We have got to shout Jason out.
Yes, sir.
Hardcore.
He's put up an awful lot of stuff.
Dude, he's a good man.
He is
He is Mr. Consistent.
he really is.
Is he not?
He is the only thing that's been consistent. So that's from Dan Trame, Jason is like a camp legend. So he's been working at kindergarten through third grade camp league since before I got here. I think he started doing it like after he graduated from high school in '94. So, and he's been the camp director. And so if he ever says, Trent, man, I'm not going to do the K3 league, I don't know who I can, because you got 80 babies in there. You got to trust an awful lot of people. And like people come in and like something back in the day, we didn't let anybody come in because now everybody wants to go, can we take videos? And so I don't want anybody around kids, but like Jason is, and he don't care to tell people no. So he's probably made a few people mad, which is all right by me. But can we come in there? No. Let him come in on Friday, Championship Friday.
He's cutting dry with it if he has to be.
Man.
If he needs to be, he will.
Right.
That's the thing is he's direct and he has the tough love on him too, man.
Can't be wishy-washy. Might not like what we got to say, but it's going to be said.
Yeah, there's a lot I didn't like.
I understand.
Say, but,
Back then, the filter wasn't quite there is what it is now. I remember.
I appreciated that there wasn't a filter, though.
I remember that.
Basketball pushed me.
Right.
If I didn't have basketball, if I didn't have you guys, because I mean, clearly I ended up going down my struggle in life. But it started when I didn't have basketball.
Well, and it's the
college.
discipline that it gives you. And a lot of times life, go back to what you're doing, life is not what happens to you. Life is how you handle it.
How you handle it.
And so, like, you get beat on Tuesday by Ryle, how you going to handle that? It used to be a little bit different. Day after a loss would be not so fun of a practice, I would say. And now with the film and stuff, and you clip stuff up and you let them watch, now kids are taking more ownership of it because not only do they play it, but they can see it. And my big thing is once you put it on film, that's either who you are or what you're not. And if it's out there, then that's who you were that day. What are you going to do to change it? And so life is not really what happens to you because there's a lot of stuff that happens.
Whole lot.
How do you bounce back from it? How resilient can you be as a player? How resilient can you be as an adult or a man or woman or whatever? But how resilient are you? Plain and simple.
Absolutely.
And so, like, I remember, and these guys, they laugh because Piper's still around and his son's an 8th grader at Twin Hoffel. And I took Pipe to David Lipscomb University because I had a guy named Mike Roller who was the best post coach in the country at the time. And he wasn't even coaching college. He had coached at David Lipscomb with Don Meyer, but he was just coaching Lipscomb High School. And there was no air conditioning and all this stuff. And, remind me to say something about air conditioning in a minute. So we go down there for 2 or 3 days, and I get to learn all this post stuff. Well, I look nothing like a post player. But that's kind of where some of the stuff that I learned from working in the post created some of Piper's abilities, and not that I created his ability, but the stuff we worked on, and then Brock, and then Hurd, and then Megley after Hurd. Nobody would look at Brandon and say Brandon's going to average 15 or 16 a game, but he had great footwork. Kevin Costello might be the best post player we ever coached because he'd get open in the phone booth. Yeah, in the phone booth, his footwork was amazing. And it just goes on to Josh Hurd, and then Zach Kelch, and then to Gabe Dines, and now to
Wow,
Buddy
man,
Stone.
we really did have a lot of good bigs.
A lot of good bigs, and so some of that stuff, some of those teachings I got from there, but I remember Coppage and Piper were chicken winging each other in practice one day, and I can't stand that stuff. And so, like, I used to be able to run just a little bit. I can't run much anymore, but I was running right beside them, just chewing them like a little chihuahua, and just killing those guys.
I would have loved to see that.
Well, they probably didn't like it at the time, but they probably laughed and said, that guy's crazy.
Well, that's what's fun about all of us going back and looking at it now, because now we look back and say, these were the people that were there. I mean, once you go through stuff in life and you hit a bottom at some point, you look back and you're like, okay, now I see who my circle was or is. It's just like you basically gave your Mount Rushmore mentors.
I did.
And
still
now,
there today.
Yeah. And now I'm 40 and like I now have a different 4 because everything had changed. But I've got like my dad is in there hardcore.
Right.
But when I branched away and came back, there was always a constant. Mike Brock's still my best friend in the world.
It's crazy.
It's wild.
Mike went to Eastern, and it really hurt my heart to watch him run that John B. line, Princeton style stuff with a 6'7" kid that would just murder you on the offensive glass and game stand out on the perimeter. He probably liked that a whole lot more.
Oh, he loved it.
I know.
He loved it. Yeah.
We didn't let him shoot threes.
I didn't want to see him shoot threes.
Go down there and murder people in the post, Mike.
Yeah, do what you do.
That's
man.
right.
He's a killer.
But then
he had to call me and tell me and get me down to games when he was running the 3.
Really?
Oh yeah, so he'd be hitting them threes. I'm like, I'll be damned. My friend can shoot threes.
Well, if you remember in the regional tournament,
shoot threes.
Dixie put the one kid in front of him and one kid behind him, and he hit a 3 at the end of the second quarter, hit a 3 at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, it was those were the threes he was allowed to shoot. Yeah. But so just think about that run. We played Dixie round 1, played Highlands round 2, and played St. Henry in round 3. I mean, that was
gauntlet.
That really was. And if you remember, somebody had you up in the air after we beat Highlands, and I come and grab you hold of you, and I said, "We're not done." That's probably not exactly what I said, but something similar to that.
Somebody picked me and Reed up.
Yeah, and I come and grab you guys.
You got us
let's
down.
Go.
That's right.
We played them. Let's move. Let's not. Come on.
Wasn't it some students or something like that? Wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, always us and Highlands was a huge rivalry because
rivalry going.
Obviously, Neltner and Brock,
Lorenzen and them.
But when we played Lorenzen and Smith in the semifinals in '99, Jared got a rebound and threw a pass, and we're playing at Connor, and the American flag used to be up at half court, and the ball's floating majestically through the air, and Derek Smith catches it, chins it, and dunks it, and I look at Hump. I said, "What are we supposed to do about that?" He said, "That's the SEC's problem next year." I mean, they were that good. I mean,
I remember.
I told Jeff Stowers.
I was there when Lorenzo would be launching stuff along to Derek Smith, one dribble dunk.
I told Jeff the other day, the one mistake or one thing that I wish that we could take back is that Scott and I both were a little bit longer in the tooth and had a little bit more experience, because Highlands did some stuff defensively that we weren't. It took us some time to try to figure out. They were a juggernaut defensively. I mean, they had 2 Division I studs, So I wish when we were younger, he was 28, 29, I was 27, 28, or 26, whatever. We were young dudes, You
would have schemed a little differently.
We'd have schemed it probably a little bit differently. He would probably say the same, but the outcome might not have changed. But I would like to have thought that we could have schemed it up a little bit differently.
Oh man, it's great. I got a few more questions here.
I don't know if we've answered any of these questions, but we've talked about a lot of them.
It's been fun. We've gone over it all. It's a blast.
It is.
All right, let's talk about this. When we're playing, you had mentioned that gauntlet that we went through in the 9th region tournament. Region was loaded that year. So it was Dixie, Highlands, and then St. Henry. So my question is, that's all 9th region ball.
Yep.
Okay, so 9th region, gauntlet, 33rd district, long time ago, used to have a ton of teams in it.
Yes. I think you had to play 3. I'm pretty sure when Hump called me the first year they won the district, you had to have they played a play-in game. And I know it was at least 3 games to win the district title. And so I can't remember everybody was in there, but I mean, there's so many teams in Northern Kentucky, and like it's so saturated, like we're so close.
There's like 7 teams in there.
Yeah, there used to be 7 teams in the district.
Yeah.
Before we got here or whatever, but then when I got here, it was us, Ryle, Boone, Connor, Heritage was in there, and St. Henry. I think those were actually the 6 teams that were in there.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. So even when we were here, there were 6 teams.
Yeah, it was loaded.
Yeah.
It was loaded.
I mean, you think about your senior year, Neltner wins
Mr. Basketball.
Mr. Basketball, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but many would say that he wasn't the best player in the 9th region. He won Mr. Basketball. Kudos to him for that.
Yep.
He was a great player. Went on to play at LSU and Vandy, I believe.
Yep.
But there are still pundits, people in the area that would say that he wasn't the best player in Northern Kentucky. I mean, you have Dolman
and Brock.
I mean, that's 2 really good players.
It was loaded.
Yeah, I mean,
every team had a dynamic duo at least.
Really,
2 or 3 players, and it was tough every night.
And so
packed houses every night.
And St. Henry, in reality, had the best team. I mean,
I don't want to talk about it. It's going to make me throw up, but go ahead.
Veith, Schmidt, Adi, Fabiani.
Got to see them all the time. Shout out Fabiani. Hey, Fibs.
And then Dave Faust, I remember going to scout, and I'd watch St. Henry so many times a year. Fausty sent somebody up with a hot dog and a Diet Coke for me. He said, "I'll send you the tape, Coach. You don't have to keep coming."
Did he really do that?
Yeah. Fausty, I love you.
He is a legend, man.
We lost to him in overtime in the district, and they beat us in the finals of the region. So
I thought we were going to have him on that 3rd game. Really. We prepped. Yeah. We were so ready. I mean, that tournament, I know. I'll never forget. I mean, my God. I'm ready for a chip. I'm going to freak out. Probably take my shirt off. We get a regional title at some point.
I understand.
I'll probably go nuts. I'll be Mark. You know what? I'm going to Mark Smith.
Mark Smith.
You know what I'm
go do the Gator.
I'm doing it.
I love it.
One day we get a regional chip. I'm going to Mark Smith right across the floor.
If I'm not coaching, I'll be right there with you.
I'm going to find wherever you're going to be at.
No, I'll be with you. If I'm not coaching, I'll be retired from here. So we're either going to win it, or I'm either going to be coaching or be retired. One of them will be together.
That's awesome. So what was it like switching over to the 8th? When I'll be honest, as players, Brock and myself, we were kind of like devastated. We would love to get a shot to play in the 8th. I love the 9th region,
right?
But like we would have loved to have had a shot to play in the 8th region, right down that corridor on 71. So for you guys and with that change, what was it like going from the 9th region to the 8th region? Now you're traveling farther, and you've got.
Well, for me personally, it wasn't that big of a deal because when I was a player in Lawrence County, every time you got on the bus, it was an hour and 15 minutes minimum.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? So like the bus rides, Anderson's a little bit further than that. Spencer is further than that. We've never been to Spencer County and played. But like to get to Anderson, it's like an hour and 40. But everything else is an hour and 15. South Oldham, North Oldham, Henry County, all those guys. And so when we moved, the whole speculation of it or whatever was to make it a little bit more fair for areas like ours in Northern Kentucky that had 20, I think we had 24, 26 teams in the 9th region at the time. And so like you have that many teams, it's really, there could be 2 teams that are home that could win another region. Now, I don't know if that's what Julian Tack and all those guys had in mind, but they started doing it as the crow flies. So everybody talks about how does Kenton County have a team in the 8th, a team in the 9th, and a team in the 10th? Mm-hmm. Well, for us, when Walton went to the 8th, you're either going to go up 75 and go to Ryle, or you're going to go as a crow flies and come to us and move us to the 8th. So I guess that's what they did.
That's what they did.
And so then they moved Scott. So they moved Scott County out of the 11th and out of the 8th and into the 11th. They moved Bullitt Central out of the 8th and into I think they're in the 6th. So you think about some of those teams that Scott County had. You mentioned some of them earlier. Go back to Rick Jones in '99 and all those guys. A.W., who's now at Eastern, Scott Hunley, all of those great teams. All those guys played in the 8th. And then who was the kid that played at UK that was at Bullitt Central? Derek, 6'9" kid. I can't remember his name.
Willis.
Derek Willis. So then, all those guys moved from the 8th to the 6th. So the 8th region has had a huge history of great players that really nobody has known about. The kid from Oldham County that's in the NBA, that played in the NBA, played for the Hawks. He played at Oldham County. So, I mean, there's a lot of dudes in the 8th that were good players. Since we've been in there, 2 Mr. Basketballs. Davion McKnight, I believe, won Mr. Basketball, and the kid from Owen County.
Trent, no.
No. Somebody's going to have to edit this for me, but
that's all right.
He played at Owen, went to Northern. It's lost my mind right now. The people at Owen County are going to be mad at me.
No,
I was talking to Coach Duvall earlier, but
you're a hell of an editor, buddy.
Right. So those great players from the 8th. When we played Collins, they had 2 kids that went Division I. Davion McKnight, who's still playing. He's at Xavier, and they had another kid that went to Samford. Kelly Neese, Jeremy Davis. We beat them, and then Western called, and I said, "Tell me what you think about the Neese kid." And they're like, Coach, who can he guard? And his shot's this. And I said, well, who's your number 1 recruit? And they're like, well, Davion McKnight. And I said, well, Kelly just gave Davion 39 and an L, so good luck. I don't know what to tell you.
Dude.
So
Kelly Neese.
It's frustrating sometimes coaching and trying to find kids places to play, because at the end of the day, these kids have dreams, and some of these places cost so much money, or they don't get an opportunity.
Yes, I know.
COVID and the transfer portal cost Kelly Neese a scholarship to go play college basketball.
Yeah, don't even get me going on that, man.
I understand.
Don't get me going on that. And the reason why I coached against him, and I'll tell you right now, I've coached against him. And it don't matter how you coach or how long you've been coaching, and no matter how much film you watch and how you prepare for this kid, he still was a bucket. And it was so fascinating because coaching against him actually in game, even knowing what he's going to do or what he's probably going to do, and he can still 20-piece you, no problem.
Yeah.
And it was just so fascinating.
And he was so efficient.
He was efficient. That's what I'm saying.
He would get 20 on 6 for 8 shooting.
Yeah, high clip.
And then not a high volume score.
No, that's why it was so.
If I
weird.
compared the points that he scored versus we ran everything to Brock. I ran stuff to Kelly too, but he was just so efficient, and then people had to give him so much attention. You got one of these questions on here. Who's the best? I don't know, man. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody. I've coached a few good ones, no doubt.
Name some of them.
Well,
they're all different because they all have different time of play and everything too.
You can't,
Well, shoot, you got a whole list of people that came up underneath you right there.
I know it's
gosh.
Jared Parker was a great high school player. The kid I talked about, now he's the head football coach at Troy University. He was a great high school player. So I've got to give him some props. Obviously, Brendan was a great high school player, but he became a greater player when he was in college. And truthfully, Brendan was probably, from the time he was 22 to 32, I don't mean to break Brendan's head any bigger than what it is or was, but he might have been the best player at any level in this area from those time periods, because that dude was good.
Coach.
That dude was special.
Coach.
You talk about bucket, that dude was a bucket
Coach,
too.
Real quick. You got a list, but I don't care. Brendan Stowers. Man, these things are dying.
They're dying on your right and left.
Yeah, Brendan Stowers, he picked us up on a rec team. Okay? We're playing rec ball. So I can vouch for you when you say Brendan was the best player in the area from age 22 to 32, by far, I think, because we went and played in these tournaments. We were traveling around. Our team was Team Crunk. Bunch of ex-players, played in high school, played in college, great team. We're playing a team in Dayton, Ohio, and we're all in college. So Brendan's older than me. So I'm playing on this team, and we're down by 21. We're probably 9 minutes to go maybe in the game, something like that. And we call our own team. We don't have a coach. We call our own timeouts. Call a timeout, and I watched the dog that is Brendan Stowers come out. And the team we were playing were grown-ass men. I mean, Brendan took the game over himself, and we won.
I mean, he was a great player.
It was like He just came in and started saying, hey, no, this is what we're going to do. This is where we're weak at. And then he just went out, and I was on the bench. They only needed me to come in and shoot threes at this point, And I watched him just defensively, offensively, just take the whole thing.
And that's the thing,
me, Brandon Smith, and Drew Clayton are sitting there like, Jesus.
What you just said defensively, he was so good defensively. He was a complete player. When high school, he was a good player, but he evolved into a great player. And
IQ
and his mind, his mind is a great thing too. But Coach Brennan, and then Brock. It's hard to say Brock wasn't the best, and then Hester and here Hurd in that class of 07. Hurd doesn't get the credit that he deserves.
Never.
Hurd was the big fundamental.
Dude, he was great.
And I was so stubborn. We wouldn't zone anybody because we switched 1 through 5, and Hurd would guard your point guard or Hurd would guard your center. But he got smarter with the communication and pushed Hester's hind end or E-hops or L's hind end out there and keep him in the paint. But he was so good. And he never got what he probably should have gotten as a player because I thought he was that good and that smart. And I get to see him every Saturday morning at the Little Pioneers. I get to see him and Phil and Setters and Brian Brown, all a bunch of dudes who got kids coming through, and it's fun to reminisce that stuff. And then you go, you talk about the best I've ever coached. So we go from Brock to Hurd and Hester. Cody Chambers grew up out here by you, was a great player for us. And I don't want to leave anybody off, but Kelly, it's hard to say Kelly wasn't the best I ever coached. That didn't, he could get to his spots and do it. I remember we played North Oldham on a Friday night at our place, and we played like dogs. And then we played Ashland, who was coming in. This was the year after COVID, so we still were only allowed to have X amount of people in the game, and we had chairs spaced out and wearing masks, and my mask would be down here half the time, and we weren't even allowed in the locker room. So we're in the practice gym in pregame. And so my seniors that year were Nate Walker, Justin Eversole, and Kelly Neese. And I'm giving it to them like, what's going to be your legacy and what's going to leave, what's going to be your mark, and what have you done for a program? And I'm just laying it on. And Kelly was the last one. He said, "Coach, that's the best pregame speech you've ever given. I got you." He goes, gets 42. We beat Ashland. Jason says, "How's that kid that good?" And I said, "Coach, he's leading the state in scoring, bro. I don't know what to tell you."
That's what Jason said?
Yeah,
he asked, how's that kid that good? I get it.
I don't know what to tell you, bro. That kid's good. So,
I get it.
And
okay.
And
I think that's that's fair, man.
It's hard not to say.
Score.
And after him was Travis, and so and Travis is at Thomas More. They're just different players. Yeah. And Kelly was never ever. I never thought he was a selfish player. Was always just efficient, just 6 for 8, 8 for 11, 12 for 15, and one night, we're playing. It's the last game of his senior year in the regular season, and Coach Bach says, "Kelly's got 42," and I said, "What?" No, he said Kelly's got 43, and I said, "What's the record?" Because I want to get him out of the game, because that's
you're ready to pull him.
That's always the. I never want to be disrespectful to the game because the game always gets you back in some way. So I never want to be disrespectful to the game. But the kid had done so much for me as a coach that there's a fine line. You got to make sure you always take care of the player, and because I demand an awful lot from my guys, and so I said, "What's the record?" And Jason told me, he thinks it's 45, and he told me the right number, but I'm like, I'm gonna give him 3 more possessions here, and then I'm getting him out. And it's bang, bang, bang. So I think he might have had 41. They had 47. So I get him out of the game. And so we're talking after the game. I'm like, "What was got into you today?" He said, "Coach, for me to win the scoring title of the state of Kentucky, I needed to score 47 points." Wow. Because Reed Shepard was like, his career was like his last game had already been played. And Kelly knew what he had to have. And I had no idea. I mean, I could care less about who's got what.
That is one of the best dog stories.
But the only thing, he just said, and the kid was never selfish.
I know. That's what I'm talking about.
But
he was not selfish.
He was a dog. He wanted to win. He wanted to compete.
That's what I mean.
He never said boo.
That's a really cool story.
So I'll give you this.
That's a really cool story.
So as good a scorer as he was, we had another kid on our team, and I didn't even mention this kid, maybe one of the best shooters I ever coached. Sorry. Jeremy Davis, who shot 50%, is 125 for 250.
Yeah, I know.
So like
we know. Try to guard against him.
So him and Kelly, and even I'd say like, Kelly, what do you want to run here? He's like, let's run something for Jeremy. And then when Robbie was a senior, you're like, let's run something to Robbie Croman. Let's run something to this kid. Like it was never, Coach, let's do this. But as he got, he blew his knee out, and he came back from that, and he played basically 6 weeks dragging his leg around, and was average. I think until February 1st, he was averaging like 13 or 14, maybe 15 a game, and then after that, he was averaging 28 a game, 27 a game. So like it's.
Needless to say, that's pretty special.
Yeah, we can argue a lot about who the best was.
There's a lot of good ones.
That dude's pretty good. I've been blessed, man.
Absolutely.
I've coached good players, and I've coached some great kids, and our program has been, and I know it's not what we're talking about, but if you think about it, one time at our staff was Hump, Kenny Chevalier, me, Brad Carr, Jeff Stowers, and Jason Bach. Yeah. So Hump's got over 400 wins. Chevy's got over 250. Brad's got over 250. I think Jeff Stowers got 900 wins. Now, I think Jeff probably has 500. Jason Bach's been a part of all that stuff.
Yeah, I know. Amazing.
You asked me the question. I didn't want to be shy. I didn't want to be a jerk about it. Probably over 350 something. And that's 1,400 wins in that group, man.
That's insane.
All on the same staff.
That's insane.
Brad and I were in the semifinals against Highlands arguing about what play was going to work.
Thank you guys for highlighting that. I've been telling everybody in the podcast, Coach.
He tries to say that his play worked, but just because that's who Brad is. But he was wrong. I was right. Sorry, Brad, once again. But
I'm switching batteries.
That's all right. And, and so my former assistants who went on. I don't know if I can take credit for Brad, but Brad went on to have a successful career wherever he went. Jeff Davis is at South Laurel. Mike's at Walton, doing a great job. Kevin Bundy, God rest his soul, came out and coached with us after he left Highlands. Went on and was successful coaching women's basketball at both Brossard and Mason County. Mike Walls was with us for a while and left, became the head coach at Dayton. Now he's back as an assistant. A guy from Lawrence County, Chuck Mitchell, is now the head coach at Caldwell County. So, I've just had a lot of stuff. Not to mention, I won't say names, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. At least 17 players that are coaching or have coached currently.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
So, I'm old, man.
I know.
I
love it, man.
Well, and so I said to guys that on my Mount Rushmore were men in my life, one of your questions was why I coached. Because somebody coached me when I was younger, and I said, I won't pass that on. I don't think I understood it at that time, but I do now, because wins and losses, as I said earlier, they're going to, and I said it to our team the other day, they're going to remember the wins. They're going to remember championship games you play in, win or loss. But at the end of the day, the dudes that you played with are always going to normally be in your life for the most part, because I talk to my high school coach every day. I really do. And through text, and I've seen his kids grow up. He called me the other day. He said, "You want to feel old?" I said, "Coach, hell, I already feel old." He said, "Samantha Sparks will be 35. She was born during my senior season. I thought we were going to get off practice. No, she born in the morning because we had practice that evening." So 35 years ago, it was January 17th, he called and said, "You want to feel old?" I said, it's going to be Pookie's birthday, so
that's wild. I'm going to finish with one other thing. Being a spectator of the sport now and being kind of neutral and watching games, cheering for you guys, doing what I do professionally, I see the game a little bit different sometimes. I can see mental blocks and all these different things, plain as day with kids, man. Like when I first went out to Rye, it was like these kids had a high clip in practice, but they couldn't perform under the lights when they're, it's like, why are they not doing this?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when I went through my struggles and then I went out and got educated myself, I've just seen the mental blocks and how coaches have this unique skill of reaching players. So like my question for you, like I had mental blocks when I think it was like my junior year, but when you have guys like, I don't mean to go, Little Will's my guy. Little Will's my guy. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Here you go, Will. There you go. There. I put it out there. I love watching you play. You remind me a little bit of me. But we were talking the other day, and like a kid like that, I'm just using him as an example. When we would have slumps, like mentally, that was hard. And sometimes that would be like emotionally hard. So, what do you notice in students and athletes and the players today with anything mental blocks? We had a conversation about kind of the stuff that the youth are dealing with now with technology and all that. But what do you notice as far as the mental blocks and the challenges that you have with your players or with students, with you being an administrator as well?
The best thing that you can do to try to get over a mental block, like I'm still a rockhead. We're gonna fight this together to work and see. And so now, like as a player, a mental block would be you're in a shooting slump, or you can't figure out what you're doing defensively, or why can't you get this pass off? Like so.
You're like losing confidence from
right. And so like we have. It might be crazy, but like Brock scored a lot of points. Somebody had to get him the ball.
Oh yeah.
So that person who got him the ball, we used to run action with you two together all the time, and so you would throw the ball to him.
Two-man game.
And so a lot of times those people don't get the props. But if you're not making a pass, and we can watch it on film, and we would just practice that. So I say I'm a rockhead, we're just going to rep this stuff out until we can't get it wrong.
Yeah.
Not that we get it right, until like under the lights, as you said,
to where you become comfortable, confident enough to do it.
And so it's like playing in front of a big crowd. If you get nervous and never been there, you gotta try to make practice harder than games, because in reality, the game breaks down for us in high school, unless you're at Northern playing in a tournament or at Rupp, it's an 84-by-50. Just try to keep it there. That's the only thing that matters. The noise don't matter. Your parents complaining at the officials don't matter. Someone yelling at me doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what we do on the court. Mm-hmm. And so your guy Will, if he gets in a shooting slump, I pull up his makes. And athletes don't want to see misses, but what we do is I'll compare his 10 makes, his last 10 makes, to his last 10 misses. And I allow him to talk about what he sees, what he doesn't see, what he feels, what he doesn't feel, because shooting is not 10 toes toward the rim anymore. Like it's not – shooting is – Reggie Miller had the ugliest shot in the world, but the son of a gun went in. He was like this and feet everywhere, and not everybody's going to look like Ray Allen.
Everybody's Skip goalie.
Yeah. Shout out to Skip. But like you got to make kids be able to repeat the things that are productive for them.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
So just try to show them the positive, let them see the negative, let them learn like I said earlier about once it's on film, and let's get better, And sometimes with shooters, man, it's so finicky. You guys are like, it's so crazy, because that much can knock off a shot. Sorry, my phone's ringing.
Okay.
So we just got to try to make it to where they believe it. And Isaac Gabbard is a kid I didn't mention who played a couple years ago, who's a great shooter, and Isaac hated to run. So I knew he hated to run. So we had 7 spots. He had to shoot 70% from every spot, or every time he didn't shoot, he had to run. Well, he ran a lot the first couple of days. But after that, he stopped running a lot, because it was kind of like, Coach, I don't really want to run. I said, well, I don't want you missing shots. So we got to find a happy medium. You know what I'm saying? And he shot 50% from the three his senior year.
It's definitely quid pro quo. Man.
It really is. I mean, if you don't, because we all want the success.
We have a common goal.
And these guys, they're playing. You know, it's not rec ball. It's not Little Pioneers where everybody plays 5 in and 5 out, and everybody gets to feel good about themselves. Yeah. If we don't win, we're not happy. If we win, sometimes we're still not happy, but it's still what the goal is to try to move forward and do it together. And that's the whole thing about team is those things I read earlier.
Tough, detailed, and together.
It really is important stuff. You know, you got to do it all together, because teams that Jason said he saw somebody's averaging 30 points a game, but their team won 3 games. That kid might be a great player somewhere, but the goal is for your team and teammates to be successful together. And we were able to do that with you, and we've been able to do it an awful lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been blessed to coach great kids, been blessed to coach great families. Won a lot of games, had a lot of fun doing it. Wouldn't change a thing about it.
Hey,
like to win a region title, but that doesn't define who I am.
Nope, that doesn't define who you are. All I know is I'm going to be following you guys hardcore, and I'm going to get in Jay and Bodie's butt a little bit and be like, hey, 03's right here, boys. You guys keep doing what you're doing on defensively.
Well,
listen to Trent, listen to Jason.
That's the thing that's so
get your
unique.
hands. You guys' hands are up. You guys are on a string on D a little. I'll tell you that. That's the together.
Right. You got to do it together. It's whether it's man or zone or whatever. You got to do it. I got to know that if I'm get beat back door, my teammate's going to be there to help me.
Yep.
You know, I fell asleep. Your boy Will falls asleep defensively sometimes. I fall asleep. Somebody's going to be there to get my back, and that's what teams are really all about. Mm-hmm. You know, from coaching to playing to. And I can't do this podcast without mentioning some of the great people that have taken care of me. From Tim Hyatt, the bus driver, who was our first bus driver, to Tom Jackson, who was our first scorekeeper, to now Tony Thornsberg, to Tim Moore, who took over the job as the announcer.
Oh, Tim.
The year after Simon Kenton won the state title, I say we. I know I wasn't there then, but I've been at Simon Kenton long enough I can say we. To now Geneva Shea, who's doing the book at home, and Tony's doing the clock. Those people, Tom Jackson told me, I said, Tom, how long are you going to be here? He said, I'm going to be here till you leave. And then Tom retired, and he said, I didn't think you'd be here 95 years. And Mr. Moore said the same thing. He said, my friend, I will be here until you leave. And so, you can't thank those kind of people that don't get enough credit for your program to be successful, because I know a lot of people are always trying to track down, I need a bookkeeper tonight, or I need a scorekeeper tonight. That's just one less thing on your plate that people don't even think about. That's just assumed that it's going to be there, but it's not assumed. I mean, great people have to man those positions, and those people don't do thankless jobs. Yeah. And I'm sure I forgot something. We have other people who do it too.
Yeah, it's okay. Plus, you're not far. We'll bring you back. It's not a big deal. I said the other night when I was watching you guys play Walton, I was sitting by Cassie Earls or Cassie Schoberg, and I was telling her, is it Miss Cartwright?
Yeah, Shauna still, I didn't even mention her. So,
that's okay. So I was telling Cassie.
Her and Paula Sheldon both.
Yeah, Paula Sheldon, Miss Cartwright. Like Brock, Reed, all of us, we looked forward to the custard-filled donuts after games. Yeah. We had Dunkin' Donuts after every game, no matter where we were at traveling. If it was home, whether we win, whether we lost, she would come in, even if we lost, she would come in and be like, I know you guys don't want to talk about this now, but at least you have these. Right. And and so seeing her over there, I'm like, oh my God, she's still doing it too.
She's still there.
It's amazing.
Paula's health isn't as good as what she would like to be. Doesn't get to travel. Has some other family responsibilities. Shauna would text me and she'd be like, Coach, I really don't want to drive. Where did we play the other day? We played on the road somewhere, and she's like, I would love to watch you. I'll be there in spirit, but I really don't want to drive at night like that. And so, Shauna was teaching at Simon Kenton many moons ago. You know what I'm saying? And so
Long time ago.
she's still bringing towels for our kids to use during games. I mean, those are the people the unsung heroes of programs that are really what high school basketball is really all about.
Absolutely.
It's not about me it's the people that make your program. That stuff is just, it's unbelievable how successful how good that makes kids feel, that somebody, and our guys are like,
I'm 40 years old and I'm talking about something that I remember from being in high school.
yes, I mean, it's crazy.
So it mattered.
It does matter. It really does.
Just a small act.
Yes, little tiny things matter. The kids remember that kind of stuff, It's great.
Well, I'm appreciative. I'm appreciative of you. I love playing for you. It was just kind of cool taking a stroll back memory lane, reminiscing, highlighting some of coaches past and all the way up to present, and some of the stuff with the team. Yeah, it's been pretty cool. 31 years at the helm, coaching basketball. It's just amazing. So, with 31 years requires, of course, a lot of players would come underneath that blanket. And so we started name dropping in our episode, and there were some really good players.
It's like I knew who they were, I just couldn't remember. I've been hitting the head too many times.
We had Trent, we had me, and we had Jason Humphrey hanging out back here, and we're trying to make sure we included everybody. And there were some names that Coach forgot to mention, and class act man that he is had texted me and was like, you know what, I don't want any of this stuff to go out without mentioning these specific people. And I thought that was cool.
Well,
I just thought that was really cool. It was like, you know what, this is bothering me. It was bugging all three of us.
Those kids and those players and their coaches, I don't want to slight anybody.
Yeah.
And so kind of one of the questions you asked me was the difference between the 8th and the 9th. And I said that I don't think the 8th region probably gets as much respect as it probably deserves. When we went to the 8th region, they had a kid named A.J. Slaughter playing at Shelby County who, the last I'd heard, he's still getting paid playing overseas. That dude was a beast. And
Dog.
I don't want to, I know who won Mr. Basketball that year, but A.J. was a great player. And before we got there, Dante Smith was at Oldham County, and he went and played in the NBA. And so, the 8th region has had great players. And I don't know why people try to say this region or that region, or just enjoy what you see.
Yeah.
The Davion McKnights at Collins, Carson Williams at Owen County,
that
Tegan Moore
team was nasty.
Tegan Moore at Owen County. Those guys were great players. And when we're talking about some of that stuff, I'm like, I can't leave these guys off my list, man. I mean, come on, I can't. That's disrespectful. So I respect the game. The game gives back to you, and it also takes a lot from you. But I always want to try to respect it. Yeah, no, I appreciate it more than you know. That's why I thought it was really cool. Come back in. We were trying to figure out if we could get a Sunday in. Couldn't get it. It's like, all right, hit me after practice. I tried to wear the same stuff too.
Hopefully, I did. I
don't know.
Who knows? It's all good. All right, Coach, I love you, man. Team's doing a great job. It's really cool to watch that squad handle adversity the way that they're handling it this year on the road, as I've gotten to watch them as of late.
You've been a super fan as of late. I like that. I enjoy it.
I went to your very first game of the season, and I've probably been to maybe eight or 9 games now.
It's pretty good.
I'm growing up. Told you I'm back here now, man.
Good. I'm glad.
It's hard to get out and watch you guys, and it's been fun. It's just nice reliving some old memories of when I played. And I posted a little newspaper article. I found the picture of 9th Region Kentucky Post, where the front page was Ross Neltner, Justin Dolman, and Mike Brock. And I posted on the Northern Kentucky basketball page on Facebook. And I'm like, any of y'all remember these 3? And then the other ones that aren't those 3, not even including Dixie and all that we talked about in our episode. Yeah. But I found that and I had to post it, and it's gotten pretty funny responses. It's pretty cool.
In that other episode, I talked about what perception was with who the best high school player was. I don't think there was much argument that Brock was a really, really, really good high school player. That doesn't take anything away from Ross. I mean, he's a great player. Justin was maybe the best college player of that bunch. I mean, he made a lot of money overseas as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly where Ross went after that, but Ross won Mr. Basketball. So like it was a coin flip. I mean,
it really was a coin flip.
Who, and so, but those were the days, everybody always tried to say, well, none of those guys are better than Dickie Beal. Well, I didn't see Dickie play. He played at UK. He must have been a really good player, So I think that's what we try to do. And I tell people all the time, I think that we in Kentucky are very critical of our own kids. We look at the limitations that a kid might have, like Reed Shepherd. Look at what everybody said, the kid can't play at Kentucky. He's the number 3 pick in the NBA draft. He can't play in the NBA. He can't play in the NBA. Well, who are we to say that this kid can't? We don't see what this kid's doing behind the scenes. We don't know what we see. What we want to see sometimes, and we don't really give the kids the respect that they probably deserve for how good they really are.
I agree with this 100%.
My job is to be critical of my team. My job is not to be critical of somebody else's team or whoever. I just want to enjoy basketball. If they lose, they lose. If they win, they win. But like, I'm not living and dying through the Kentucky Wildcats or the Duke Blue Devils.
I know it.
I'm gonna live and die through Simon Kenton.
Me too.
The ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of high school coaching. And so, but I think we're just so critical of kids. And there's more, like we talked about this before, there's so much social media.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably because the publicity's increased.
Yeah, people just, and like people just at you, like at Michael Kennedy.
Yeah, they do.
Who?
Yeah, and you don't even know who they are.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
I had one pop up on today where I'm literally posted my own thing. And all the vibes are good. The history's great. And then there's always one negative person. Always. And it's like, I sat there and drafted up some responses and I just erased because, I've been through the ringer. I understand life and I understand how to handle people personally and professionally. But it's just interesting to see that collectively and watch how people respond.
I don't have time to fool with that kind of stuff. Nor do I, if it doesn't affect my life, I'm not going to post it.
It's exhausting. Why would you even do
really
gaslighting?
And that's what's happening with our kids, as we talked about earlier. Yeah. Our kids adults are supposed to be mature enough to do it. I said, supposed to be mature enough to do it. How do we expect kids to be able to handle that stuff? It's hard. I mean, and like, let's say a play happens in a game. These people just come out of the woodwork and start firing at your players. And
yeah, they do.
They're 15, 16-year-old kids.
Yes, they do.
I know what I would have said at 15, 16 years old, but I'm trying to teach them
how to handle that
the appropriate way.
Yeah.
So, and it's hard because you got parents have to be involved. School has to be involved if it gets to a certain level, and because some of those threats are pretty bad,
They get nasty and they flow over into Snapchat and all that stuff too. It's crazy.
Unbelievable times.
It is just it.
I just want to coach ball.
I know. All right, Coach. Any final words that you have for us today, man?
Well, I apologize for my lack of remembering things, and I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate the message that you're trying to get out to people. I appreciate the awareness of what you're trying to promote so people have somebody to talk to. We talked off air or whatever. A lot of people don't ask for things that happen to them. It just happens. And then you have to be able to handle that. And getting people to be strong enough to handle that is kind of what our jobs are as educators. And sometimes we fail. Sometimes we fail. I'm not, sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to stop trying to teach it, because teaching kids how to handle adversity it's a life skill, man. I mean, there's going to be times where your child's sick and you're on 2 hours sleep and your wife's mad at you. I mean, you can't kick the dog. You can't leave your wife. I mean, you're just going to have to handle it.
Exactly.
And men and women. I mean, old and young. We all life happens to all of us. Good things and bad things.
We have to teach and show why, and then the options of how you can respond to things.
Yep. That's it.
At the end of the day, they make decisions, and we roll with it.
I love you, brother.
Love you, man.
Thank
See
you.
you.
Appreciate you.
We're out.
So guys, you should like and subscribe and like hit that
Okay.
I can't get it.
Okay.
I'm not used to this.
Hey guys, subscribe to my dad's video and just like the bell.
Hit that like and subscribe button, hit that bell.
And stay tuned. Love y'all.
100%. Love y'all. We're out.
I love that.